Reid Hoffman, co-founder of this little-known platform known as LinkedIn. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, some in passing, maybe.
Some in passing. He once tweeted that, I believe starting a company is like jumping off a cliff and assembling a plane on the way down. Your willingness to jump is your most valuable asset as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. So let's start here. Why jump in the first place? Why become an entrepreneur? What is it about entrepreneurship that will make you want to take that leap?
It's a good question, and I've been thinking about this quite a bit, right? Like, why put ourselves through the struggle? Why put ourselves through that, like the long nights, the thankless shifts, taking massive pay cuts, and still wanting to do this over and over again? And the truth is, I don't know. I always say that I am an accidental entrepreneur. I've always stumbled into doing what I've ended up doing. It is never a plan that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I think the allure exists for some people because it allows you to shape things a certain way. And unless you're willing to take that jump to discover what's at the bottom, you're never going to find out.
This conversation is going to be one giant thought experiment. Mm-hmm. Let's imagine I want to be an aspiring entrepreneur and I have no idea where to begin. This entire world is a black box to me. So I've reached out to you. You're my mentor. And I'm hoping you can break down every single aspect of entrepreneurship so that I have an idea, the seed of an idea today, and I want to end up with a company at some point. Hopefully you can guide me at all these steps. Are you ready for this thought experiment?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Great that your answer is yes, because it's already too late. I've spent a lot of time setting up. Let's continue exploring motivations. The easiest motivation that I can understand is you're passionate about an idea, or you're passionate about an industry, or you find a pain point or a problem that you want to solve. And driven by that passion, all these hardships you spoke about, why would anyone become an entrepreneur? You can make a case for putting through all those hardships because you're passionate about solving a problem or a particular idea. That makes sense to me. I want to explore some other alternatives, which are not some that you hear often when founders talk about it in interviews. A lot of them talk about being passionate about a problem, solving a problem or an idea. But let's explore an alternative. Let's start with money. Is it a viable, robust motivation to just be driven by the idea of making money? Is it possible that you only go into entrepreneurship to work, to commit yourself, spend your entire life, or not entire life, maybe 5 or 6 years of your life building something and then looking to make a quick exit? Can that be a good, solid motivation to becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, see, I think there are many motivations to why somebody would want to become an entrepreneur, want to start up, or want to get into any field for that matter. And I don't think there is a right answer to it because there have been many successful entrepreneurs that have found a quick way to make money and have been very successful at making that money. There have been entrepreneurs that have built legacy companies by initially having that focus on wanting to make money. And there have been people that have been desperately passionate about, a solution that doesn't exist and they desperately want to solve for it, right? And I think that all across all of this spectrum of different kinds of motivation that exist, one thing remains common is that in order to be successful, you need to be able to give yourself 100% to it, no matter what. Because that 5 years, those 10 years, how many ever years it takes to make, what you said, that quick buck, it's in fact what I would consider a completely arduous journey. And the ups and downs of it never really stops, right? So I commend those that are able to jump in for whatever motivation it is, because that journey itself, I say it's like, I think Mike Tyson and other boxers keep saying it. I respect anybody that's willing to put themselves on the line by getting into the ring. For me, it's the same. The motivation really doesn't matter. If you're willing to take that plunge and get in there and put yourself on the line every single day, I commend that and I respect that. And so I think that is a viable way to get to, doing whatever you're doing. And really, whatever gets you and keeps you motivated to wake up every morning to keep pushing is commendable.
So money can be the end goal, even though for some reason it's often viewed as a taboo or there's a certain kind of stigma associated. No founder comes on an interview and he says, the reason I got into this was to make a quick exit.
Right.
But that could be a solid motivation to get into this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, see, ultimately, there's a lot of, chatter about passion and, wanting to build something that doesn't exist. And I'm willing to put myself on the line to like get to that. But what if someone's willing to put themselves on the line to make money? And in the process of making money, you build those generational companies, you build those generational outcomes. That's absolutely commendable, right? I don't think, people like Jeff Bezos or even Travis Kalanick, who started Uber, I don't think many of them came from a place of like, I just have to revolutionize something. It started off with like, hey, there's an opportunity here that I could make money in, right? Let me try and solve for it. At the same time, there are others that have gone to this, length or distance by discovering a pain point that they personally felt or their family personally felt, and they couldn't sleep at night without having solved for it, and that's their motivation. I think it's commendable either way.
Let's explore another alternative motivation. Can you just be driven by the thrill of creating a company or scaling a company? Mm-hmm. Product agnostic, service agnostic, industry agnostic. Now you're not wed to a particular product. You're driven by the rush of just taking an idea from its seed stage, all the way scaling it up to a company, maybe even treating it as some form of art, becoming a serial entrepreneur of sorts. Can you just be driven by just the process, regardless of what product it is?
Yeah, and I think some of the best entrepreneurs are the ones that are obsessed with the process. Right? Like you can be a visionary founder that believes in an idea and a space that you really want to revolutionize, you really want to change, but without any obsession with execution or the operations of it, you're honestly going to go nowhere. The thrill needs to be multifold in my opinion, or at least in my journey that I've seen, right? You start off being excited by an idea, maybe. In my case, that was it, right? Like there was a problem statement that I wanted to solve. And then I got excited about the potential solutions that could exist for solving that problem. And that drove me. But in the day-to-day, if I really need to see this idea through its logical conclusion, which is like, if I believe that this is going to make the world a better place, I have to find thrill in the mundane. I have to find thrill in recruiting the right candidates for my job. I need to find thrill in like having 10% operational efficiency every single day, in finding the processes that allows my team to be able to perform at their finest, at their best. These seem like absolutely, benign things that, a founder shouldn't be spending their time thinking about. But honestly, without that, you're never going to be successful. So I personally believe, and this might be a controversial take, but I think operational excellence and having a deep passion for, making your team more efficient and operationally better every single day needs to be part of the repertoire of what you're trying to build.
Which, once again, I feel is not spoken about enough. A lot of people just focus on being passionate about solving a problem. But you're right, it has to be married with this passion for actually building something, putting a team together.
Actually, just to take one step back, right? I think the common theme across all of this, right? And I desperately dislike meeting founders that are not passionate. Now, passion could take many shapes, right? A passion for money, a passion for operational excellence, a passion for like the field that you're disrupting or the problem statement you're going after. But without that passion, I genuinely feel like it's futile, the effort. So whatever it is that's driving you, you have to be, again, in my opinion, extremely, extremely passionate about it. And where it comes from, for me, really doesn't matter, as long as you're able to, withhold it and withstand it against all the challenges that are thrown your way every single day.
I can definitely get behind that answer. Getting into entrepreneurship without any form of passion feels like a death wish. We're going to talk a lot about the hardships that come along the way. Why would you put yourself through it if you're not passionate about anything? Right. Even if you're passionate about money, and I'm sure the capitalists love your answer, at least that can help you wake up every morning and push through all the obstacles. How about being passionate about not wanting a conventional corporate job? I remember many people in college or in high school used to say, we just want to start our own thing, but we have no idea what it's going to be, which market we're going to go into, but we just know we want to do something of our own. And it felt like they were being driven by a philosophy of wanting to be an entrepreneur just for the sake of being an entrepreneur because they didn't want to do a conventional 9 to 5 job. Can that be a passion as well? Is it a solid, sustainable passion that you just have this aversion to this conventional mainstream job? Maybe being a founder it's cool, right? It's edgier, it adds an interesting dynamic to your personality. Can that be a solid motivation?
I think to kickstart your journey into entrepreneurship, maybe this could be a motivation, but there is no way it's sustained in the long run, man. I mean, it sounds like it's a passion for not doing X rather than a passion for Y. And I think that will burn you out really quickly. Because when you realize that the passion is not to do something or to build something, but it's a passion not to do X or not to do Y, I think that burnout will come to you much sooner than you realize. And that it's not a sustainable passion or motivation to keep one going. And I'll give you an example of this, right? I've seen a lot of founders that have been like, listen, I'm done with the drudgery of the day-to-day of working for a corporate entity or working for someone. I want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing. I've seen this go in multiple ways, right? People take this as a jumping off point to really explore what they're passionate about, come up with things that they want to solve, inefficiencies that they've seen in an industry that they've either worked in or are passionately following or whatever it is. And then they eventually land up in something that they really want to build for whatever the other motivation might be. It still might be money. It still might be your deep desire to change something. But it ends up kind of moving away from being your passion to not work a job, right? The other part that I've often seen is this again gives you that initial kickstart motivation to I'm going to look at everything in the world. I'm going to find what I'm excited about and I'm going to try to build. But once you don't end up finding it for whatever reason, right? Or your motivation was not aligned or any other of the reason, eventually you hit a breaking point over there where you're like, your passion for not wanting the job or do the job really runs out because it's again, because I believe it's not sustainable to do that. And so it goes either way. Eventually you find your path and then your motivation is something else, or that you run into a wall and you're saying, that's it. I head back into where I came from.
It can definitely be a good starting point. Kind of reminds me of the reason people start working out or go to the gym.
Yeah.
The initial reasons maybe are to look good or to impress people, but then nobody walks into the gym saying, you know what, I want functional mobility or, it's for the advantage it's going to have on my mental health. So I can completely get that answer.